stand here with me for a second. Right at the end of your own driveway, turn around and look back at your house the way a stranger does when they roll past that walkway. The one running from the curb to your front door, it just said something about you out loud before you unlocked a single door. I've watched buyers decide in about 7 seconds, not on the kitchen, not on the granite, on the path to the door. I've spent decades quoting these jobs, standing beside sellers when the offer came in lower than they prayed for, and I learned to read the verdict forming on a stranger's face before anyone said a word. I remember a couple in a silver sedan who slowed in front of a listing I'd worked 2 doors down. They looked at the front walk for maybe 4 seconds, and they drove off without ever opening a door. The agent told me later they said it looked like too much work. By the last stop on this walk, I'll show you the one detail that quietly decides the whole verdict, the thing that can swing how much a home feels worth by as much as 12%, and it costs almost nothing to fix. Whether you're staying another 10 years or listing this spring, this walk is going to change how you see your own curb. So let's actually walk it. Start where a visitor starts, right at the front edge, where your lawn meets the path. Look down at that line, the place where the grass ends and the walkway begins. Is it a crisp, clean edge? Or has the lawn crept over the concrete like a slow tide, softening the shape until the path looks smaller than it really is? Here's what nobody tells you. The eye reads edges as a signal of care. A sharp, defined edge tells a stranger somebody is paying attention here. A blurry, grass-swallowed edge tells them the opposite, and the brain fills in the rest of the story on its own. I've stood next to appraisers who never wrote a word about edging, but I watched where their eyes went straight to the line. Because a crumbling, overgrown border reads as deferred maintenance, and deferred maintenance is the first crack in the verdict. The fix is almost insulting how cheap it is. A half-moon edger from the hardware store runs about $18. A powered edger, if you want to move faster, maybe $40 to rent for an afternoon. You cut a clean line down both sides of the walk, pull the crept-in grass back, and suddenly the path looks wider, longer, and deliberate. That single clean edge can make a 4-foot walkway read like it belongs to a more expensive home, because sharp geometry is something the eye associates with money and maintenance. It's free of any contractor. It's you, a tool, and one Saturday morning. But a clean edge only frames what's inside it, so let's step onto the path itself, because that's where the next problem is hiding in plain sight. Walk with me toward the door and watch your own feet. Notice the joints between the sections, the cracks, the little seams, what's growing in them. If you've got weeds pushing up through the gaps, or moss darkening the low spots, or one slab that's heaved up a half-inch higher than the next, your walkway is telling a story you did not authorize. Let me be blunt about what a buyer's body does here, because it's not even a conscious thought. They step onto a path with a raised, uneven slab, their toe catches slightly, and their nervous system flinches. That flinch attaches itself to the whole house. Now the place feels unsafe, unmaintained, a little bit hostile before they've even reached the porch. I once walked a property with a woman who was ready to make an offer over asking. She loved the inside from the online photos. Then she tripped just barely on a lifted paver near the steps. She caught herself, laughed it off, and I swear the energy changed. She started noticing everything after that. Every little flaw. That one stumble turned her from a buyer into an inspector. Weeds in the joints are the same signal in slow motion. The University of California's Turf and Horticulture Extension has pointed out for years that weeds establishing in walkway cracks are a visible marker of a neglected surface, and homeowners consistently underestimate how fast that reads to an outsider. What you see as, I'll get to it, a stranger sees as nobody has gotten to anything here in years. The fix depends on how bad it is. Weeds and moss in the joints, a stiff brush, a bucket of hot water with a little dish soap, or a household vinegar solution, and maybe 30 minutes. For a lifted slab, that's a genuine trip hazard. You're looking at either a mud jack or a slab lift. which a specialist can do for something in the range of $150 to $500 per section, far less than replacing the whole walk, which can run several thousand. Handle the trip hazard first, always. Because everything else on this walk is about perception, but a raised slab is about a person's actual balance, and nothing kills a warm first impression faster than a stumble. So now your edge is crisp and your joints are clean. Therefore, the next thing the eye does is something most homeowners never expect, and it's the reason so many walkways look tired even after all the weeds are gone. The eye reads the color of the surface. Step back and look at the actual tone of your concrete or your pavers or your brick. Is it a warm, even, light gray or tan? Or has it gone dark and blotchy, streaked with green and black in the shady stretches, dulled by a decade of rain, pollen, and tire dust drifting up from the road? Here's the thing that took me embarrassingly long to understand on my own house. I thought my front walk was just old. I figured it was worn out and I'd have to replace it. Then one afternoon I dragged a pressure washer across one section just to test it, and the strip I cleaned came back so bright it looked like a different material. My walkway wasn't old. It was filthy. I'd been staring at years of grime and calling it age. That is the single most common mistake I see. People price out a whole new walkway, thousands of dollars, when the actual problem is a surface that hasn't been washed since a different president was in office. A gentle pressure wash, or even a scrub with a deck brush and an oxygen-based cleaner, pulls off the black-green film and brings the true color back. You can rent a pressure washer for around $40 to $70 for the day, or buy an entry-level electric one for about $100 that'll last you years of driveways, siding, and patios. And here's where I need to say something I've been holding back, because now you're invested enough to actually hear it. Everything we've covered on this walk, the edges, the joints, the surface, is the kind of detail I've spent years organizing into a full system for homeowners who want to stop guessing and start reading their own property the way a buyer does. I put all of it into a digital guide called the Yard System, and it's available right now for $97 through the link in the description at curbappealinsider.com. It walks you through every zone of your yard, from the curb to the foundation, with the same straight talk you're getting here, so you know exactly what to fix, in what order, and what to leave alone. If today's walk resonated with you, that guide is where it all connects. So the game is knowing which of your problems is a grime problem and which is a real problem. Most tired walkways are grime problems wearing a replacement disguise. Wash it first. Always wash it first, then decide. Now, once that surface is clean and true in color, you're going to notice something you couldn't see under the dirt. You're going to notice the shape and the width of the path, and that's where the verdict really starts to tighten. Stand at the curb again and picture two people walking up to your door together. A couple, a pair of buyers. Can they walk side by side? Or does one of them have to fall back and walk single file like they're being led into a dungeon? This is one of those things you stop seeing on your own home because you always walk it alone. But a narrow path, anything under about 3 feet, forces visitors into a line, and a single file approach subtly makes a home feel smaller, tighter, and less generous. It's a spatial cue. Cramped path, cramped house. That's the equation the brain runs without asking permission. The comfortable standard, the one that reads as an expensive, well-designed home, is a walkway around 4 feet wide. 4 feet lets two people walk together, lets a person carry something without turning sideways, and signals that this house was built to welcome, not just to permit. Now, I'm not going to pretend widening a walkway is free, because it isn't. Pouring an extra foot of concrete or adding a paver border can run you a few dollars per square foot, and a full widening might land somewhere between $800 and $2,000 depending on length and material. For a seller, that math sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. But here's the cheat, and it's the kind of thing I love because it costs almost nothing. You can fake width. You pull the plantings and the lawn back from both sides of the path, add a low border of the same material or even a clean strip of dark mulch or gravel about 6 inches wide on each side, and the eye reads the whole corridor as the walkway. You didn't pour a thing. You just stopped letting the surroundings choke the path, and now it breathes. That trick Pulling everything back to give the path shoulders can make a narrow walk feel a foot wider for the price of an afternoon and a bag of mulch. And it leads us straight into the next problem, because whatever is crowding that path is usually the same thing, sabotaging the approach. Look at what's growing alongside your walkway right now. The shrubs, the perennials, the bushes your kids were shorter than once. Are they leaning into the path? Do they brush a visitor's arm or leg as they pass? Does anyone have to duck, dodge, or brush a wet branch off their shoulder to get to your door? Because here is a quiet, uncomfortable truth about how people read a home. An approach where the plants reach out and touch you feels neglected and slightly menacing, even when the plants themselves are beautiful. It triggers a low-grade discomfort, a sense that the house is closing in, that nature is winning and the owner has stopped fighting. I watched this exact thing sink a sale once. Gorgeous, mature landscaping, the kind that takes 15 years to grow, but it had swallowed the walkway. Buyers had to physically part two overgrown shrubs to reach the steps, like walking into a cave. The feedback that came back through the agent was that the house felt dark and made a lot to keep up. It wasn't dark inside at all. The approach had made the decision for them at the curb. Overgrown foundation plants are one of the most common value killers I see, and there's real research behind why they matter so much. Dr. Alex Niamira at Virginia Tech ran a well-known study on how landscaping affects the perceived value of a home, and one of the findings that stuck with me is that design sophistication and how the plantings are shaped and placed mattered more to perceived value than simply having big plants. In his work, thoughtful landscaping raised a home's perceived value by figures ranging up into the double digits, as much as around 12% in some comparisons. Bigger wasn't better, intentional was better. So the fix here is not to rip everything out, it's to prune with a spine. Cut the plants back off the path so nothing touches a visitor. Trim anything below the windows down so it stops swallowing the light. Get the shrubs to a height and shape that says someone is in charge here. Pruning is free if you own the shears, and a one-time cleanup from a crew, if you'd rather not, usually runs a couple $100s for an average front yard. Compared to the value it protects, that's nothing. Now, right about here, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, this is all fine advice for somebody trying to sell, but you're not going anywhere. You're staying put, you've got years left in this house, and you don't care what some imaginary buyer's face does at the curb. Stay with me, because this next part is aimed straight at you, and it might matter to you more than anyone. Because here's what I've learned standing on both sides of this. The verdict at the curb isn't only for buyers. It's the thing you feel every single day when you pull into your own driveway. It's the little sag in your chest when you see the tired path and the overgrown shrubs and think, someday, that feeling is a tax you pay on your own home every day for free in the worst way. And the fix that serves both of you, the seller cashing out and the stayer settling in, is the same one, and it's the cheapest thing on this entire walk. It's light. Look at your walkway after dark, not with your porch light blazing straight into the street, but the path itself. Is it a black void from the curb to the door? Does a guest have to feel their way up your walk with their phone, flashlight out, hunting for the step? Because an unlit path does two brutal things at once. To a buyer doing a dusk drive-by, and they absolutely do dusk drive-bys, the house looks closed, empty, and a little unloved. And to you, coming home tired every night, it says the same thing quietly over and over. A row of low path lights changes everything, and this is genuinely the highest feeling, lowest cost upgrade I know. Solar path lights. Start around $15 to $20 for a set of 4, no wiring, no electrician. You literally push them into the ground, step them up to a low voltage kit with a transformer, and you're maybe $150 to $300 for a warm, even wash of light along the whole approach, and it's still a doable weekend job. Here's the detail that matters. Warm light, not the harsh blue-white glare that makes a house look like a parking lot. A soft, warm glow, the color of a candle or an old bulb, is the one that reads as expensive and inviting. Cold light reads as institutional. Warm light reads as home. Same fixtures, same price, completely different verdict, and the only difference is which color you buy. For the seller, lit path lights extend your showing hours, and make the twilight photos glow. For the stayer, you get to feel proud pulling in every night for the next decade. One fix, both of you, $20 and up. That's the kind of math I wish somebody had shown me 20 years ago. So now let's stand back and take stock. Your edge is crisp, your joints are clean and safe, your surface is washed back to its true color, your path has shoulders and breathes, your plants stopped grabbing at people, your walk glows warm at night. That's 6 fixes, and honestly, if you did nothing else, you'd have changed the whole conversation your curb is having. But I promised you one more. The last one, the detail that decides the entire verdict, the one I held back on purpose, because until you'd fixed everything else, you couldn't have seen why it matters this much. Walk back down to the curb with me one final time. Turn and look up the path toward your front door. And this time, don't look at the path. Follow it with your eyes and notice where it delivers you. Does your walkway lead your eyes straight to the front door? Or does it dump you out of the driveway, or dead end at a blank patch of wall, or split your attention between the door and the garage so you honestly can't tell where you're supposed to go? This is it. This is the detail I learned the hard way, the one almost nobody talks about, because it's invisible until someone points at it and then you can never unsee it. A front walkway has one job that matters more than clean, more than wide, more than lit. Its job is to take a stranger's eye and their feet and deliver both clearly and confidently to the front door. The path is a sentence, and the front door is supposed to be the last word. I figured this out standing beside buyer after buyer over the years, listening to the same small hesitation again and again. They'd get out of the car and pause, just for a beat, unsure which way to walk. On homes where the path led to the driveway instead of the door, people drifted toward the garage and ended up at the wrong entrance, feeling faintly stupid, feeling unwelcome. That tiny confusion, that half second of, where do I go, poisons the whole visit. A house that doesn't tell you how to enter, it feels like a house that doesn't want you. And here's the part that made me feel foolish about my own trade. Nobody in the business points this out, because it's not a product. There's nothing to sell you. You can't buy a clear sight line to your door in a bag at the store. It doesn't come on a pallet, so it goes unmentioned while people spend thousands on plants and pavers, and the actual thing deciding the verdict, whether the path clearly says the door is here, gets ignored. Dr. Niemeyer's research pointed at this from a different direction, that sophistication of design moved value more than the raw stuff you plant. And after enough years, I understood what sophistication really means at a curb. It doesn't mean fancy. It means the eye knows exactly where to go. It means the path, the plantings, and the light all point at one thing, the front door. That's the whole secret. Direction. So how do you fix it this weekend for almost nothing? You frame the destination. You make the front door the obvious, undeniable end of the sentence. If your door is plain or lost against the wall, give it weight. A fresh coat of paint on the door in a color that stands out from the house, a deep navy, a warm black, a confident red, runs about $30 to $50 for a quart and reads to a buyer as a signal of a cared-for home. The door is the single most concentrated piece of curb appeal you own, and painting it is one of the highest return small jobs there is. Then frame it. A matched pair of planters, one on each side of the door, or 2 simple symmetrical shrubs, tells the eye, this right here is the entrance. Symmetry at the door is a powerful, ancient signal of order and welcome, and it's the exact thing the eye is hunting for when it travels up your path. A couple of planters and a pair of seasonal plants might cost you $60 to $100 total, and they do more work than a whole flower bed placed where nobody's looking. And if your walkway physically points at the driveway instead of the door, you don't always need to re-pour concrete. Often you can add a short spur, a few stepping stones, or a section of pavers that peel off and lead clearly to the entrance, and you can guide the whole approach with your path lights, aiming that warm glow like breadcrumbs straight to the door. You're not rebuilding, you're redirecting. You're finishing the sentence. Do that, and something clicks that you'll feel the very first time you test it. You'll stand at the curb, your eye will travel the path, and it will land, without hesitation, exactly where it's supposed to. On the door, on the welcome, And every stranger who pulls up will feel that same effortless certainty of knowing precisely where to go, and they'll read it without ever knowing why, as a home that has its act together. That's the verdict flipping. Not from one expensive thing, from the path finally doing its one real job. So let me leave you standing where we started, at your own curb, looking back at your own house, except now you can see it. You can finally see what everyone driving past has been reading all along, the story your walkway has been telling without your permission. You're the kind of homeowner who'd rather hear the blunt truth about your own curb than be flattered into pouring $5,000 into the wrong fix. That's exactly who this walk was for. So tell me, out of everything we just walked past, which one stung a little? Was it the overgrown shrubs grabbing at people, the black void of an unlit path, or that last one, the walkway that points at the garage instead of the door? Be honest and put it in the comments, because I read them and I answer. And while you're there, tell me where you're watching from, what town, what kind of house, because I love picturing the curbs on the other side of this. If seeing your property through a buyer's eyes changed something today, then stand with the rest of us who'd rather know the verdict than be surprised by it, and follow along, because these are the details that quietly move real money. Next time, I'm going to walk your driveway with you, and I'll show you the one stain near the garage that tells a buyer more about how you maintain this house than the roof, the furnace, and the whole inspection report combined. You've been parking on top of it for years. Come find out what it's been saying, because that stain, the dark bloom of oil and rust where the car sits, is the driveway's version of everything we just talked about. It's a signal you stopped seeing years ago, and it's whispering something to every single person who rolls past. I'll show you how to read it and how to make it disappear for less than the price of dinner. Until then, go stand at your curb one more time tonight after the sun drops and really look. You already know what it's saying now, and that changes everything. Stay with me one more minute. This walk gave you the overview, but the full curb appeal walkway restoration, step by step, is what I go deeper into inside the curb appeal circle. In there, you can ask me your own question, and a real person answers, not a machine, and you're not alone. You belong here with homeowners just like you. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel anytime, one click. Now that your walkway looks welcoming, let me show you how to make your whole yard look expensive without spending much at all. It's starting right here, so stay with me and let's keep going together.